Hey guys, what's up? This is Adam Wallace with the JuiceBox Reviews. Today I will be talking Awaken My Love, Childish Gambino's third and newest studio album, which came out about 2 weeks ago now, and I've had plenty of time to listen to it and really take it in. So first things first, the production is brilliant. One of the best this year, and really quite phenomenal really. However, there's one big issue that I can't quite put aside, and that is Donald's vocals themselves. Don't get me wrong, they are good, but when his vocals are there, they seem very quiet. Like, especially when accompanied by another voice, like a background singer. It seems they are much louder and therefore more prominent in each song. It all sounds great and they really do blend together in the structure of the songs, but he just sounds a little washed out, as if he wasn't the focus. And this is a bit upsetting to me because of how strong his vocal performance is, especially this time around. This album runs at about 50 minutes and it's really hard to label. You know, there's elements of R&B, soul, funk, and a bit of electronic components. By electronic, I really mean Daft Punk. Like, I got major early Daft Punk vibes, like Homework, Discovery, like late 90s, early 2000s. Me and Your Mama and Redbone were released as the album's first singles, and I'll get into them a little more as I go on, because I'm going to be doing like a track by track kind of thing. I feel he started off a little too strong because of how amazing Me and Your Mama really is. It's possibly the best track on this album, at least for me, and it was easily the most well received. Like, it was a really good single. It all set up a new direction that we were all so ready to hear and embrace, and it definitely did it successfully. But to me, it really was the most powerful track. The screams in this song, absolutely fucking awesome, and he really kills it live. Watch the Pharaoh's performance on his website if you have time. Just go to his website, childishgambino.com, I think. Next track, Have Some Love. Simply put, this is a funk anthem. My immediate thought was Clones of Dr. Funkenstein, which is an album by Parliament. Check it out if you haven't heard it before. And it's the same thing with Boogeyman. They really just make you want to move. They've got like classic Family Gang vocals, there's tasty bass grooves, bouncy vocals. It really blends together really well. It's just funk, funk, funk. And this is probably my favourite Gambino album. You know, seeing as I never really got too much into rap, it's definitely him, but it feels totally separate. Like, it shouldn't be a Gambino album, but more so a Donald Glover album. It's a whole new entity. Definitely don't expect anything by the likes of Cam or Because of the Internet. You can hear bits of what was brewing in the last EP he had, 2014, was it Stone Mountain and Kauai. There's elements of this new album in there, and I know a lot of older fans were hoping for more rap. Yet, I don't think these fans could be disappointed. Everyone for the most part seems to be pleased so far. It's sort of a soul revival and a very R&B approach. Personally, I don't feel like it shows as much as everyone is making it out to be. Donald has a great voice, like fantastic, but the vocal production is kind of hit and miss with this album. There's a lot of tracks which seem to feature background, like guests, vocalists, extremely heavily, while Gambino is barely heard, and I know I just said that, but it really bothered me. The instrumentals are nice because the production is so smooth and it's genuinely pleasing to the ears. The structure is very smooth, very musically fucking tight. But when I first heard Me and Your Mama, I wanted a lot more singing like that, like those screams, that soul. And a lot of these songs, you know, they don't even sound as powerful as that, and some of them don't even sound like he's singing them, which really does bother me. Like Redbone is a perfect example. I had to see him perform it on Jimmy Fallon to realize he was singing that track. And don't get me wrong, I love the sound of all these different songs. I'm being nitpicky and critical because I like his regular voice. I don't need all these effects and stuff. Next track is Zombies. You know, maybe it's not lyrically powerful, but it does carry a lot of emotion. It's one of my favorite tracks on the album. In fact, it's a very easy one to catch on to, which makes it nice to kind of jam along with, you know, sing. It'd be a nice one to have on the radio. I'm curious to know what really inspired the track. It carries a very clear and intentional use of auto-tune here and there, but it proves to be effective. The guitar fills are just fucking lovely too. If you like Daft Punk, listen to Riot. That's all I could think of when I first listened to this, and I absolutely adored it. I'm a really big fan of this track, and I think it would be great for a live show. I would love to hear it. Redbone was a great single, very easy listening, very groovy. Kudos to you, Donald. Your range is to die for, and like, this is a track that can easily sit on repeat for hours upon hours. It's really, really good. California has a very nice tune, an amazing flow. It's a very catchy track. After a while, the vocal modulation becomes a bit cringy though, unfortunately. It's not pleasant, but I can't help but love this song. Once you get into it, you really can't skip it. I believe Terrified is the strongest track on this album, probably one of my favourites too. This one to me most resembles Because of the Internet, and it kind of has a Marvin Gaye twist. It's a really nice throwback, it feels familiar. Again, it's another one that's easy to catch on to. It's a very smooth track, it sets a mood, and it just carries through. Baby Boy, what a track. This, for me, at least for me, is the strongest song lyrically by far. Give it a listen and you'll know what I mean. It's very striking and it works perfectly with an almost relaxed guitar melody. Really successfully highlights Donald's vocal tracks, and this is one exception from my earlier point. It's a fantastically structured song and it has some really memorable instrumentals. Check it out as soon as you can. I love this track. The Night Me and Your Mama Met, it's a full instrumental and it's the only one on the album. To me, it's unforgettable. He's managed to put all this emotion into an instrumental track. No words, nothing, but it really sets a tone. It really strikes a chord. So the first half of this album, it screams like get the fuck up and dance, funk it out. The latter half is pure soul. Very slow songs, moving melodies. It's very soft, but there's very striking vocals. However, the first and final track are completely separate from the rest, and that's in the best way possible. It's a very strong lead, Me and Your Mama, and the grand finale, it just blends all the elements of Awaken My Love, or at least for me. I didn't go in with too many expectations for this album just because of how amazing Because the Internet was, but I was floored when I heard it. Really, really enjoyable. And despite it not being the longest track, I would consider the last song, Stand Tall, as the epic. It sounds and feels like a bunch of different ideas just mixed into one. It's almost like a couple of different songs. It cuts and then another part starts. It's big and it's loud. Musically, it's very fascinating and it heavily displays the power and quality of the production featured throughout this album. Just give the whole damn album a listen. All in all, I think this was a really ballsy move forward for Gambino, but I think it was a great move. It was genius. It flows so smoothly, and not the way that Because the Internet did, in a very different way, just like the tone it sets, the vibe it carries. It's so full of soul, there's a lot of passion, and the music really makes you move. It's constantly smooth throughout, even though it's so different throughout. I don't think he should have much to worry about because his fans are really loyal and they're going to follow him whichever way he goes. I know I will. And as long as he's making what he loves, that's all that matters, right? I find that this album's really hard to label. I feel like it's a cross between Parliament, ELO, Marvin Gaye, Daft Punk, but it's a very easy listening album. And it's also kind of freaky deaky at the same time. It makes you feel some kind of way. I've almost always felt that Gambino carries that similar aura, ever since Camp. He makes you feel some sort of way. There's a clear progression with Donald's releases, but this is a whole new level, one that I really hope he builds off of, because I can already see that his fan base is exploding more than it already did 3 years prior for the release of Because of the Internet, which, that was 3 years ago. Can you believe that? Brilliant sounds, brilliant production, lyrically it's very strong. Again, I'm a little upset by the level of tomfoolery on the vocals, but you can't win them all, right? This album isn't perfect, but what album is? I tried to be critical with this review because it's being praised relentlessly. Not that it shouldn't, but I really wanted to acknowledge both the ups and downs of it all. I've listened to it about 10 times through now and my mind has changed so much. Now I've really taken it in and I wanted to record this review now. Sorry it's late, but I've kept the constant belief that they're very intentional throwbacks to influences of Donald, to the likes of legends like Prince, bands like Sly and the Family Stone or Funkadelic, so many more. Maybe these inspirations aren't supposed to be evident, but to me they really shone through. Either way, Donald has a fantastic taste in music, a very colourful palette, and that to me is very important for any musician. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. The only thing that lost it for me, again, was the lack of prominent lead vocals, mainly in the first half, and the over-the-top effects and modulation. It's an album that sets a mood for you, but I feel like you have to be in a certain mood just to listen to it. Awaken My Love is a fantastic step forward and such an easy and enjoyable album to listen to. One of my favourites for the year, easily. Props to you, Donald. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.
One more kiss, dear. One more sigh. Only this, dear, is goodbye. For our love is such pain.